The hum of the airplane was steady, almost hypnotic. Ethan adjusted his daughter's blanket and kissed her forehead before she drifted off to sleep against the window. He leaned back, shoulders aching from days of juggling 2 jobs, single parenthood, and the constant pressure of making ends meet. Beside him, a woman in a sharp navy suit tapped briskly at her laptop, her posture flawless, her focus absolute. She radiated the unmistakable aura of someone important, confident, controlled, and probably used to first class. Ethan guessed she was a CEO, or something close to it. He thought little more of her, focusing instead on his daughter's peaceful breathing. But somewhere between turbulence and takeoff, her typing slowed, then stopped. Ethan felt a gentle weight press against his shoulder. He glanced sideways. The woman, polished, untouchable, and clearly exhausted, had fallen asleep. On him. For a moment, he froze. Should he move? Wake her? Yet the sight softened him. Her face, usually stern, now looked vulnerable. So he stayed still, shoulders stiff but heart strangely calm. Minutes stretched into hours. Ethan resisted every urge to shift. For once, someone was leaning on him, instead of the other way around. He didn't know that when she woke, everything about that flight would change. A sudden jolt of turbulence stirred her awake. Disoriented, the woman blinked rapidly before realizing where her head had rested. Her eyes widened, and she sat upright, brushing her hair back with an embarrassed cough. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she whispered. Ethan offered a tired smile. "It's fine. You looked like you needed it." Her cheeks flushed, an unusual crack in her polished exterior. "I don't usually fall asleep on strangers." "Don't worry," Ethan said gently. "Happens more often than you'd think." She studied him for the first time, his worn jacket, the calluses on his hands, the way he leaned slightly toward the little girl sleeping beside him. Something about his quiet steadiness unsettled her. She was used to boardrooms, not kindness from strangers at 35,000 feet. As the hours passed, they exchanged small talk. She revealed her name, Claire Matthews, CEO of a global tech firm. He introduced himself simply, Ethan, a single dad from Ohio, flying home after a failed job interview. "You don't strike me as someone who fails," Claire said softly. Ethan chuckled, though his eyes betrayed exhaustion. "Well, the world doesn't always see it that way. I'm just trying to give her," he nodded at his daughter, "a better shot." Claire felt a strange tug at her heart. She had built empires, yet here was a man building a life with nothing but grit and love. And for the first time in years, she wondered if she had been chasing the wrong kind of success. The cabin lights dimmed, and most passengers sank into sleep. Claire, however, couldn't stop glancing at Ethan. There was something about the way he tucked the blanket tighter around his daughter, ensuring she wouldn't get cold. Every movement was careful, deliberate, full of love. "She's beautiful," Claire whispered. Ethan smiled, pride lighting up his tired features. "Her name's Lily. She's the reason I keep going." Claire hesitated, then asked, "And her mom?" His jaw tightened, but his voice remained calm. "She passed away 3 years ago. Since then, it's just been us." The word struck Claire harder than she expected. She had lost people before, but the way he carried his grief, with quiet strength instead of bitterness, stirred something deep in her chest. "I can't imagine how hard that must be," she said softly. Ethan shrugged lightly. "Hard? Sure. But she deserves the best I can give her. Even if it means I go without sometimes." Claire looked at him differently now. Here she was, a woman with private jets, corner offices, and wealth beyond measure, yet she couldn't remember the last time someone had leaned on her, or the last time she had sacrificed for something beyond herself. For a fleeting moment, she envied him. Not his struggles, but his purpose. Then Lily stirred in her sleep, whispering, "Daddy, don't leave me." Ethan brushed her hair back, murmuring, "Never, sweetheart. Never." The tenderness in his voice left Claire speechless. It was in that moment she realized, the strength of a man wasn't in the power he commanded, but in the love he gave freely. And she, a CEO at the top of the world, suddenly felt very small. The next morning sun broke through the small airplane window, casting golden light across the cabin. Claire stretched, but her thoughts weren't on business meetings or stock prices. They were on the man beside her who had carried his world with nothing but quiet dignity. When the flight attendant announced breakfast, Ethan politely declined, saving the meal for Lily when she woke. Claire frowned. "You're not eating?" He smiled faintly. "She needs it more than I do. I'll grab something cheap at the airport." The words landed heavy in Claire's chest. She thought of her own world, a world of excess where untouched meals were tossed aside daily. Watching Ethan make sacrifices without complaint tore at her in ways she didn't expect. Lily stirred awake, rubbing her eyes. "Daddy, are we home yet?" "Almost," Ethan said softly, handing her the tray. Claire watched as Lily smiled, happily eating, completely unaware of the quiet hunger her father endured. Something inside Claire cracked. She leaned closer, her voice lower than she intended. "Ethan, would you consider working for me?" He blinked in surprise. "Excuse me? You said you were looking for a job. I don't usually mix business with, well, flights like this. But I could use someone like you. Loyal. Hardworking. Someone who doesn't give up." Ethan stared at her, suspicion in his eyes. "I don't need pity." Claire shook her head firmly. "This isn't pity. It's respect. You've already proven more character in one flight than some executives have in years." For the first time, Ethan was silent, not out of weariness, but because her words had truly reached him. And in that moment, Claire realized this wasn't just about offering him a job. It was about restoring hope. The plane touched down, wheels screeching softly against the runway. Passengers stirred, gathering bags and rushing for the exit. But Ethan sat still, Claire's offer echoing in his mind. "Why me?" he finally asked, his voice low. Claire looked at him steadily. "Because integrity can't be taught. Skills, I can train. But heart? That's rare. And you've shown me more of it in one night than most people do in a lifetime." Ethan's throat tightened. He thought of Lily, of the bills waiting at home, of the doors that had closed on him again and again. Could this truly be real? As if sensing his hesitation, Lily tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy, maybe this is the good thing you always tell me to wait for." Her innocent words broke the last of his doubt. Ethan's eyes softened, and for the first time in months, he allowed himself to hope. Claire handed him her card, the embossed letters glinting in the sunlight. "Call me tomorrow. We'll work something out. You deserve a chance, Ethan. And so does she." He accepted it with trembling hands. "Thank you, not just for this, but for seeing me." Claire smiled, a genuine one, stripped of boardroom polish. Sometimes it takes leaning on someone else to remember what really matters. As they parted ways in the terminal, Ethan carried his daughter in one arm and the future in his pocket. Claire walked away lighter too, not because she had offered a job, but because she had rediscovered the kind of humanity she thought success had cost her. And high above the chaos of everyday life, both of them had learned something priceless. Sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest turning points.